Clifton Collins Jr., welcome to An Actor Despairs. How are you doing, man?
Doing great, brother. Good to see you.
Man, it is like such an immense honor to have you on today. Like you've been such a hero of mine, and truly just like the immense body of your work. There has been so much that I have stolen from you. Since I think that when I was like 11, I saw The Last Castle, and
Oh wow,
I loved your character. I think Angular was that his name? I
Aguilar.
Aguilar, yeah, yeah. But I just was like, there's something about your energy, and then I like found Rules of Attraction because I liked Roger Avery, and then I just
Love
start
Roger.
like I'm talking back. I'm turning 36 in a couple days, but I'm only saying like back in like the dial-up like IMDb days, like always looking at what you were doing next, and you're one of the finest. Like really, man, just like everything that you do, it's so amazing to watch you work and. I'm just so profoundly grateful for your time, and it just means so much having you here.
Well, I appreciate you, man. It means a lot for me to be here and to be able to share this stuff and talk about it. And it's always a joy when you find out that you got to touch people creatively. You know what I mean? It's like those the money goes fast, but the influence when it lingers is I don't know. You can't pay for that kind of joy. You know.
Totally. I mean, it's like that immortality of touching a stranger's heart that gets to live on, and you're immortal to me. But if it's cool with you, as my audience knows, I always start at the very beginning. So we're talking a little bit off here. You grew up in Los Angeles,
Culver City. Yep.
Culver City. Wow, what was that like?
It was awesome. It was back way before it was still an independent city, but it didn't. It was a trip. It was the 70s. So
Sony was it still
it's
there
really
at that
like
time?
Sony was not. It
It was
was
not.
MGM Studios. It was MGM. That's where they'd shot. Yeah, I used to take my Diamondback bike in the 'cause you had little openings. You go back there and you'd see kids with their BMXs or their mongooses. Yeah, so you go on
Wow.
the lot. So it wasn't so Sony wasn't there yet. It was MGM, and then Sony got bought them out. So
I feel like I should have known that, but that's embarrassing. But it's okay. But tell me, I know your grandfather was, but were your parents also artists as well?
no, they weren't. It was a tough time. It was fun, interesting because it skipped a whole generation. I think they saw my grandfather struggle so much in San Antonio before he actually made it and became a contract player for John Wayne that the good times didn't really erase the bad times,
Mm,
so to speak. So my uncle, he's a drummer, he dances, he plays music, he sings, he can do it all, but he just never did it professionally.
got it.
So, and then my aunt as well, rest in peace. My aunt did like the Monkees, Mod Squad, SWAT. She had opportunities to do other films, but just, and I learned to tap dance with my aunt.
Like young, you like dance and music.
Mhm.
Was that something for you?
Oh yeah. Well, all the grandkids had to have a creative education on top of an academic education because my grandfather couldn't read, so he made sure that we had a good education. He got me into Loyola High School, which at the
Wow.
time I had terrible grades. There's no way I would have gotten into Loyola by myself. And also as a teenager, I didn't want to go to an all boys school.
Yeah.
You're going through puberty. You want to see girls, man. It's like, no,
Totally,
I'm not
man.
going.
Yeah.
But they were adamant about us getting an education. So once I got through, it was cool. There was girl dances like once a month or twice a month.
Like obviously with your grandfather and like Los Angeles is your backdrop, like you have an awareness of the business, but like, going to like your childhood, was there ever an interest in it, or did it just seem like this thing that exists where you grew up?
It was just this thing that existed, like Grandpa's friends were all the people in the business, because he was estranged from his family for like the last 35 years of his life. They were always trying to take advantage of him or exploit him, and he was always willing to give up money. His own sister was taking 40% as a manager and wouldn't do anything for him. So John Wayne's the one that broke that contract because my grandpa, he did Rio Bravo and High and the Mighty and Hellfighters. He was under contract with Duke for like 13 years.
Wow.
So my grandpa one day was like, hey, it'd be cool if I made a little extra cash. He's like, well, extra cash? Like, Pedro, what are you doing with all your money? I pay you every week, whether you work or not. You're a contract player. He's like, well, I got William Morris, my agent, 10%. I've got my manager, 40%. And he was like, 40%? He was like, what do they do for you, Pedro? And he was like, well, sometimes they drive me to set. And he goes, that's all they do? And he's like, yeah. He's like, okay, we're going to break them with that contract and we're going to get your money back. And my grandpa, being the guy who's always trying to help people, especially his family, to a fault, he was like, let them keep all the commissions that they've clocked so far. I just want to get out the contract.
Yeah.
So it was there was a big rift. So his family and friends became the people in Hollywood that look after him, like John Wayne and Groucho Marx, and he would maintain a lot of relationships from the different films, be it Lee Marvin or Dean Martin from
Wow.
Rio Bravo, Ricky Nelson, Jerry Lewis. Like I've got a
Sinatra?
bunch of no, not
Oh,
Sinatra,
okay.
but I'm blanking on his name. The famous piano player,
Jerry
um,
Lewis?
Liberace.
Oh, Liberace. Okay, got it.
I know,
Amazing.
like Grandpa knew Liberace. I'm like, who would have thought? Like, it's
Crazy.
like I heard all these stories. It's like when my grandpa passed, my uncle gave me like seven giant boxes just filled with stuff, and it's like, you're grieving and you're trying to heal, and he was very much a father to me. 'Cause my dad left at a very young age,
I'm
and
so sorry.
so yeah, it's hard to have all the sure you want to have these mementos and these pieces of his career, but also you want to heal. So going into that, I'd hear all these stories as a kid, but then to actually find letters from Liberace or Liberace inviting him to his premiere of his movie, and I've got the full blown Western Union letter, and I've got his Liberace tickets. I've got the original tickets to George Stevens' Giant. They're like these big ass tickets.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
I've got
sick.
Western Union letters from Jack Warner.
That's amazing, man. You got to like give that to the Academy Museum for a month for an exhibit on your grandfather.
I've got quite a few. Yeah, I've got John Wayne, Ricky Nelson, D. Martin, Jerry Lewis, James Arnaz from Gunsmoke. I just got a stack of Western Union letters. I got like six from Jack Warner.
Wow. So then with your relationship with him, talk to me. Was he like, because of his experiences and how things were for him, did he kind of like, tell you about the business in a way that didn't really interest you?
It was just the norm, and
Okay.
what I didn't realize is that we're all acting every day, whether it's you're getting pulled over by the cops, or you're talking to your girl, you're talking to somebody that might give you a job opportunity. You're always putting your best foot forward and presenting some kind of an image. But in school, I was a full-blown class clown, so it was like I didn't know that I was already vying for attention via performance,
Got it.
and jokes, and I would get detention. And detention was fine if my joke landed; it was worth it.
Yeah,
But
totally.
if the joke didn't land, it was terrible. At Loyola they had this thing called JUG, JUG, which stood for Justice Under God.
Oh, it was like extremely religious kind of thing, or
Yeah, it was
oh,
a Catholic high school.
got
Yeah,
it,
right
got
there
it.
on Venice and Western. It was a great school. It's a really good
Wow.
school.
And did they have any kind of like music or theater program that you did
Oh
anything
yeah,
in?
I took acting and got a B, and I also took Spanish and got a B.
Wow. And were you
Just
speaking Spanish at home, or was
oh
it
yeah, oh yeah,
you
it's one
were?
of our first languages. Yeah, it was one of our first languages. So I never really had an interest. It wasn't until I was in high school. Yeah, because I was in high school and it's like, you're 17 and they're asking you to, okay, so I'm supposed to sign up to I'm going to a college prep school, and then I'm going to go to college, and then I'm going to have a big nut to pay off, and then I'm going to work. I'm going to get 2 weeks paid vacation a year, and that's the rest of my life. And I'm going to work
Yeah.
a 9 to 5. I'm like, this does not sound like success to me.
I know.
But little did I know, cut to like I was laughing one day on Star Trek, because on Star Trek we did 18-hour days. That
Wow.
was the norm. So me and Eric Bana started on a Monday at like I think we started at 3 a.m. and then by Friday our call time was like 9 p.m.
Oh, you pushed
Yeah.
to like Fraturdays or whatever.
You had to. It was 18
Yeah.
hours. 18 hours. Come
Wow.
hell or high water, we were there. So I was like, well, there goes my 9 to 5. But it's different when you're doing something you love. I was a Romulan. What I mean? My entire cast, and that was the very first one that J.J. Abrams brought back because Paramount that franchise was dead in the water. So we
Yeah.
were we were caged
Revitalized
in.
it.
Oh, for
Totally.
sure.
Yeah.
So we were caged in our trailers. You couldn't, people couldn't come visit you. When you got onto set, your cell phone didn't work, so you couldn't talk to people. So it was a very weird time because you, you feel like you're in jail, like you feel like you're getting visitations or something.
Totally. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
like, with Jug and all these things, like, where did the moment of activation happen for you
Oh,
where
for
you're,
acting?
yeah, like, where was,
It was it was the moments that I started to realize that being vulnerable and raw in any kind of a monologue or a scene could garner accolades or people's attention, or when people paying attention to your pain or your joy that's displayed in a way that's entertaining. I was like, well, this is fun. Like I can distract people. I can make them laugh. I can take them away from their dark day. I can lift. My cousin was a little bit of a little more on the depressed side. So when we were tap dancing, I was always the one that would make jokes or things to just lighten the mood. So I think commercial auditioning before I actually got into actual training with Stella at the Adler, uh, it was kind of trial and error. I'd go in and just play with some stuff and improvise. And when I'd see how the room reacted. So I really started to get off on auditioning. It was like I know, Mamet in his book True False, he talks about not having an audience, but in my opinion, I always feel like I have an audience because my entire crew's watching me. Or
yeah,
even in the audition room, you've got a camera girl, a reader, or maybe a director, a producer. You've got anywhere from 3 to 10 people in that room watching you. That's my audience.
totally.
I'm not. It's not like we didn't have self tapes back then.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, and also, if I'm on set, like I hope the wardrobe lady's paying attention. I hope the makeup girl's watching me. I hope the director's paying attention because his ass is on the line too. They're all on the line.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Totally.
yeah, I gotta have an audience. Don't tell me I don't have an audience. And there's a special joy. Like I got this show that for Apple it's coming out called Lucky with Anya Taylor-Joy and Annette
Jonathan
Bening.
Tropper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's such a G.
Yeah.
He's such a cool cat, man. I had so much fun with him. The whole cast was awesome. But I had my focus puller we worked together on Traffic, the Soderbergh film. Um, but it was the kind of writing that we had and the acting was the kind that if you weren't in the scene, you wanted to stop and watch. You wanted to sit on set and watch. It was that kind of a fun show, and that's so rare. They're not all
Totally.
like that. Yeah,
Totally.
so when you've got your focus puller like looking over at you like, oh my God, I can't believe I got that. He's just like, oh dude, it's like
Ah,
that's your
it's electric,
audience.
man. That's
It
amazing.
is. It's completely. It's like you just wanted to go to set. It's like it's a blast. I miss that whole crew where they're talking about on the download possibly like the author of the book is writing a second book just so that we can get a
Amazing.
second season. Yeah.
You got it with that cast, man. And
Yeah. No. Yeah.
I'll circle back to that closer to the end. But for the
Please.
actors listening to like the linear style, like then tell me for you, then like, was there a moment with your grandfather, or was there ever a moment where you were like,
There
okay,
was.
I want to take this seriously, and then he
Yes.
maybe suggested training. Like, is that
Nope,
when?
nope. He actually was against training. Well, also
Wow,
you got to understand he even though he was a contract player with people that were in the whole Stanislavski. I mean, he was a contract player with Nick Adams, James Dean, Dennis Hopper, Alfalfa from the Little Rascals, um, and Woody Strode. But Woody Strode didn't really hang out with them.
mm,
I had a moment when I was teaching martial arts with my cousin and we were in our teens and at Loyola High School, but we'd go to these schools and teach children and stuff, self-defense and things of that nature. And there was a period of time where kids would just come up to me like, "Hey, you look like the new Robert Downey Jr. or James Dean or this and that, and they'd say all these different things. It was just random, like kids to adults, or people would ask me, "Hey, are you an actor?" And I'd be like, "No, I'm not." And I'd be with my cousin, and it was like there was this 3 month period that was pointing me in that direction, and then my mom wasn't for it. She laughed at my face, said I'd starve to death. Don't call me when you need a check,
Wow.
and then but my grandpa, to your point, to your question, my grandpa sat there. You know what? That's when I changed my name to Gonzalez. Gonzalez was to honor him because he was like nobody honors the trailblazers. Nobody remembers the old timers and the people that opened the doors and stuff. And so I never thought I was worthy enough to be able to be acting. And then my grandfather was the one that goes, no, he goes, yeah, you can. He just that one time he
Wow.
said, no, you can do it. Yes, Mijo, you can. I was like, I just needed to. He gave me permission,
Yeah.
and the biggest permission I could ever. And because of my own self-esteem issues, and this is how I got into character work, was I never felt that me, Clifton Collins Jr., was worthy of a role. But I know somebody that will be awesome. Wait till you meet this guy. This guy's going to be sick. So this is how I came up with the role, like in Replacement Killers or 187, or a variety of roles prior to that.
Wow. So it was the early days for you because like I think your first thing was like Freddy's Nightmares, right? Like you did, you
Was I
know.
ever Collins? Because I was Collins for like a year or two, and then I switched to Gonzalez, and I took Grandpa's name for 10 years. Because I was like, Grandpa, I'll go to an audition. Like, Clifton Gonzalez. What's your background, Clifton? Mexican? Well, I'm
Especially in the
German.
80s and the 90s, I'm sure, man, you
I'm
know.
German. I'm Apache, and I'm Mexican. Ah, Mexican. We knew it. And it's your younger days too, so you're pretty resilient and fearless and naive and ignorant
Wow.
to my benefit. But the business really wants to put you in a box.
Yeah.
Especially if you're of any kind of ethnicity, because that way they don't have to think, oh, here's the Mexican, yeah, here he goes, boom. But it's like I was like, no, and so that's why getting a role. We were talking about the crew from Tigerland, getting a role playing like the third lead, a Southern guy from North Polk, Louisiana, was such a huge get for me. And I remember Joel Schumacher, rest in peace, telling the writers, "Hey, I think I found the perfect miter, private miter, but his name's Gonzalez. Gonzalez, is that okay?" And they're like, "Yeah." And then I remember Joel telling my managers, he said he could, because I was just about ready to throw in the towel, like
Right
maybe I
around
should.
Tigerland.
Right around Tigerland. I remember my agent
Can you
and
tell me why? Like talk to
I
me
want to
about
tell
that.
you right now,
Yeah.
my agent and manager at the time said, Clifton, you're just not going to play. This is when I'd finished 187 and Sam Jackson had told me about this little role. I think it was Runaway Jury or Runaway Train. I want to say Barry Levinson ended up doing it, but Joel Schumacher was attached originally.
Okay.
Cliff Martinez ended up doing the role, but it was a little Southern role. And Cliff looks more Mexican than I am, but he's actually Maori, and so I didn't get to audition for that, but they're like, Clifton, you're not going to play Southern for Joel Schumacher. And it was just a little 3-day role. I was like, God, if I could just have a cool little Southern where I could show people that I could
Yeah.
do all kinds of things. And then there was this moment when, so I didn't get that role, but also I didn't get a chance to even audition. I fired both of them. And then about 4 months later, Joel was casting for Tigerland. Now there's a giant Southern role. It's not just a 3-day role, it's the third lead.
Totally.
So I'm like, holy shit. So I busted my ass. I got off book for that monologue. I was just so primed and ready. And I got a close connection to Vietnam. It's dear to my whole family served in Vietnam.
Wow.
And I just remember Joel, he said, I can count the top auditionings that I've witnessed on one hand in my entire career, and Clifton Gonzalez is one of them. And I just remember weeping, like just
Wow.
like I know I'm crazy, I know I'm off and I'm crazy, but I'm not that crazy,
Yeah.
So it
But
was,
what a role. I mean, like an emotional, like mental health crisis butcher. Like, did that really did that change everything for you? The way the business was seeing you, like,
Well, it just helped to crack the door open and not
mm,
be so closed-minded and be more open. Because it's like, they always back in the day, and I don't know, maybe it's a little like this now as well, but they always want to find the guy.
yeah,
We want to find the guy. So it's like, well, let me just give me a ch We're actors. It's like,
yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like that. Let me do what I'm here to do.
yeah, it's like we get caught up on ethnicity, and look, I think there's got to be people got mad when Isai Morales was playing Bob Morales in La Bamba because he's Puerto Rican, but he killed it. Like, look, if you're
Richie, that ending is like the best of
come
all.
on, it's iconic. It's
Yeah,
iconic.
I
It's
love
truly
that
iconic.
movie. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
So, and then they got mad at Jennifer Lopez for playing Selena because Selena's her ethnicity is a fifth this and eighth this. Like, just stop it.
I
She's an actress.
know.
Why we got to keep shooting ourselves in the foot? Like, just stop it.
I'm half deaf and I didn't get a role because I wasn't fully. It's crazy, but I totally know what you mean. And I mean, talk to me about because there's so many. I think the reoccurring thing with you is like you worked with so many titans early in the days with like not just on the like literally not on the writing side, the filmmaker side, the actor side, and because we're talking about Tigerland, like and Shay's a friend and he's done the podcast multiple times, like what was that experience? Especially like I think Colin Farrell was sort of starting to get shot out of a cannon. Was that just an incredible time in your life filming that?
It was interesting because I think I was probably between myself and maybe Cole Hauser. I think maybe we had the most work, but I remember not the entire cast, but a good chunk of the cast. At some point during the shoot would come knocking on my door and then ask me like as though I had like goggles into the future. Like, what do you think's going to happen? Yo, Cliffy, what do you think's going to happen after this movie comes out, bro? Like, or calling, I don't know what's going to fucking happen, Clifton, but let's just see what happens. Let's just see it's going to be good. Because Colin was still, everybody had met for that role, the boss role. Everybody
Yeah.
from like, Heath Ledger, rest in peace, to like, just everybody did.
Wow.
Um, so because right from Tigerland, I went straight into Traffic like a week later.
And what a role. I mean,
Soderbergh's Traffic.
you were, just for the audience listening, because we were talking off air that you studied at Adler with Benicio, right? So you two already had a relationship?
Oh, for sure. And I had met Benicio when I was 17 years old through Isai, because Isai and Benicio did an episode of Tales from the Crypt that Victoria Burrows was
Ah,
casting. Yeah, so I was just teaching martial arts and I wasn't even acting. And I'd met Isai. Isai had come into the martial arts school. I forget why. Oh, my teacher was doing security for the Oscars that year, an Oscar party that Isai was hosting at the old China Club.
wow.
Remember the
Crazy.
old China Club?
I
Yeah.
never went, but it sounds amazing.
Yeah, that was back in the day. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I was underage.
Yeah, I love it, man. The
I had a
classic
fake
L.
ID.
Yeah,
Yeah.
back when LA nightlife was booming, you know.
Yeah. It's pretty
But
wild.
I mean, like talk, because like the aughts, as people love to call them now, like and I know Soderbergh kind of got going with Sex Lies and Videotapes, but like talk to me about because like literally I have your IMDb to the left of the screen here because like you just have so much. It's and I don't want to miss any of it, but at this point your resume was incredible. Like, was that an offer for you for that role?
No, they called me probably, God, I think it was Debbie Zane cast that, if I'm not mistaken. But they called me like five times for the Monolito role, which was played
Mhm.
by Jacob Vargas, which is wonderfully played by Jacob. And at the time, I'm like, well, I'm coming off this Southern role. Like, I'm not going to take a role because it's white or because it's Latino. I'm going to take it because it's a challenging role and it's multi-layered.
Yeah.
And I like a three-dimensional character and somebody that can add something to it. So after Tigerland, it was like, I don't think I don't have it in my wheelhouse to just play a regular Latino character. Doesn't mean I can't make them interesting, but I would really love to play Frankie Flowers. And they kept saying, well, that role's taken, so you can't have that. I said, okay, well, I'm not going to do it. But it's Soderbergh. I know it's Soderbergh, but the way I feel right now, it could be Hitchcock coming back from the dead. I'm not going to do it. I don't
Yeah.
have enough. I don't have enough white roles to balance just doing a regular old Latino role. So I I said I stuck to my guns, and this is, they say the roles they're supposed to come to you, and I think this is a great example, albeit super rare. They called like probably for the fifth time on my last day. I remember sitting in my Dodge Ram rental truck on Camp Blanding in Stark, Florida, and they were like, oh, they called for you for traffic again. I just started laughing, like, oh my God. It's like, how many times we got to say no? It's very sweet. I think, no, it's for a different role. I said, what role? He said, Frankie Flowers. I was like, what? Frankie fucking Flowers? No. I said, how? How? Like, are you kidding me? You're fucking with me. Like, no, no, I'm serious. I was like, but you got to audition on Saturday at like, 3 p.m. I said, dude, I'll audition on a Sunday at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
for this role. I don't care. Whenever Steven wants to see me. So I got off book. I went in there and they called me by like 7 p.m. to say, yeah, Clifton's the guy. So Moulin Rouge went over like 6 weeks and Leguizamo was going to do it. Who I love Legs. I did a
Yeah.
movie that he directed. He's just good people. He's got a ginormous heart. He's a great activist and an amazing talent.
Got it.
So thank God Moulin Rouge went over and that opened the door for me. So I didn't get an offer. I auditioned and I had a blast. And then Steven took me off the leash because it took me, I think, 5 days to figure out that hairstyle. I was like, I got some ideas for the hair. Let me just play with it a little bit. So every day I would cut and trim and shave, and I would just let it, as Ari Aster says, metabolize. I would just look at it. I was like, okay, let me wait a day. And then I look at the next day and it's like, all right, maybe I should cut a little here. I cut my peaks off, and then they get turned into that Caesar cut.
I love that. And while we're on this, like, talk to me. Is it your process
Oh,
for
and I
like,
came up with the coke nail as well.
no
I remember
way?
going, I remember being in San Diego before we shot, and I had to go down to, I just walked my ass down to some Filipino nail shop, and I was like, hey, I want to get my nails done. He said, oh, you get your nails done. We put nail, what kind of clear? I said, no, I want one nail here. I said, one nail? I said, yeah, one nail's for for cocaine. He said, no, no, cocaine bad. I'm like, I know, but it's just for a movie.
Yeah.
Movie? I said, yeah, I just need one big nail. And then because he's gay and somewhat flamboyant, he was based off a hard ass assassin that the cartel
Wow.
turned a blind eye to because he was so savage. Because normally they wouldn't let any gay
Yeah. Like the Omar of
hitman.
Mexico.
Yeah, he was just a hard ass. So I got a regular manicure and I got one big old coke nail. So when you see me holding a gun when Cheeto kills me, you see this coke nail.
I love that, man. That's amazing.
And then some of my homeboys doing security were old gangsters from Culver City in the projects. So who I had a long history with since I was like 15. So it's
Wow.
really cool to have, like, I got homies doing security that I know will personally take a bullet for me. And
Yeah.
anybody on the cast, they were G's like that.
You
Yeah,
you,
so
you
it was a
shot
family
in
affair.
Mexico a little bit, or
We shot in Mexico, we shot in Tijuana, we shot in San Diego, we had to go deep into Mexico because in one of, I think it's the scene when I escaped the Suburban. Um, when I escaped the Suburban, we had to like just we wrapped it like one, like, all right, well, pack up, Clifton. We're wrapped. We're gonna go south. I'm like, what south? Like wrapped? We got all this sunshine to shoot. Pack your shit. We're going. I'm like, what the hell is everybody being so bossy and weird about? The chief of police just got killed by the assistant chief of police.
wow.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, it was wild. So we had to jump ship. But yeah, so we shot all over.
And I mean, you're kind of talking here about the haircut and the nails. Like your work is exceptional in every role that every film I've seen you in. It's so specific, and I love how you're talking about the hair. Like for you, when you see or not see, but read a script, like do you work from the outside in? Like what is your process?
It depends. It depends. Whatever strikes me the hardest, like the most. That's like whoa. That I use that as an anchor, and then I'll
Mm,
I'll work around it or within it. There's a variety of different ways. I'm very versatile. Like I remember Schumacher asking me like, Clifton, I just want to know how you work. I want to sit down. I'm sitting down with every actor for however long it takes. Are you method? You stand aside. What do you do? Substitution. I'm like, I'm here to learn how you work. So
yeah,
you just do what you do, and then we'll get into it. So, because there were times like, in fact, if you see this scene in the bathroom with me and Colin, I had this giant red mark here, and he had a giant friggin' talon of a thumbnail uh, and Joel couldn't quite get the performance out of me, but because he couldn't label how I worked, so he was using, so he knew I had broken up with my girlfriend. He was like, he goes, your girl's out there, fucking six different guys, ready, go. And I'm like, I told you I broke up with her. I hope she's having a great time. What do you want me to do in the scene, Joel?
Wow.
You're right now. You're coming from a place of anger, not sympathy. I was like, whoa, was that some direction, Mr. Schumacher? I said, speed. I called speed. I called it, and then Maddie Libatique just started rolling, and we did the scene, and that's the scene that you see there. And Colin was there, and he was. There's bits of it that were improvised. And I just remember taking his hand and going like, "Wow!" And his whole nail just raked
Wow.
across my skin and left this ginormous red mark. You can see it in the movie, but I just remember Joel screaming like, "Medic!" He's like, he goes, "Genius, medic, genius, medic!" Like, what's going on? He goes, what you liked it? He goes, "Yes, girl, my God, your neck's cut open." I'm like, cut open, and it just he saw the red marks. He just thought that it was literally
Oh,
just
that like slit it. Oh my God.
yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, but it's you always want to, that was the audition scene. You always, you came into audition and don't you embarrass me with this shit. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, how about you give me some direction?
Oh my
I'll
God,
try
man.
not to embarrass you, but please also, if you could just give me a smidge of direction.
I love that. I mean, tell me, like, are acting coaches ever been a part of your journey?
Not really. No, no, not really. I will work with dialect coaches,
Okay.
but also I've been such a mimic of all kinds of people since I was a kid. Because Grandpa did three cartoons with Mel Blanc. John Wayne's got a very distinct voice.
Yeah.
Walter Brennan's got a very distinct voice. So growing up, watching all these movies with Grandpa, I was just always imitating these people. So my ear picks up accents very quickly. Whenever I'm playing a character, or even for Tigerland for that matter, I asked, actually, this wasn't exactly Louisiana, it was Missouri, but Preston Lacey, before they had done Jackass,
Wow, that
I
is not a
told
name I
production,
expected you to say.
Preston Lacey's my acting coach. Hey, come on, let's go get some sushi before we do the Southern Jackass. We're gonna come crash your traffic premiere, Clifton. No, you're not. No, you're not. I visited the production office because it was walking distance from my apartment on Whitley, and they found out I was going to the like. Well, look at the Mexican dressed all nice. What's going on?
Wow.
I said, I got my premiere. We're going to go to your premiere. No, you're not. I will
Amazing.
take flight on sight if I see either one of you motherfuckers on that red carpet. In fact, you can see some interviews where I'm like talking to the reporter and I'm like thinking that I'm on hyper vigilance mode.
I
So
love
I'm ready to
that, man.
bomb. So all I
Wow.
kept thinking is I'm gonna stop the interview. I'm gonna bomb on Knoxville or anybody. But I
Crazy.
asked production. I said, hey, if you guys could take me and drop me off. There's a bunch of rednecks. I figured the redneck accent will get me in the vicinity of Southern,
Yeah.
and it's still a tiny bit different, but close enough. And then they're like, please tell Mr. Collins that this is the time for his vacations. I'm like, I don't think anybody's trying to vacation in Missouri. I didn't ask you to drop me off in Hawaii.
Wow. I mean, tell me, since we spoke about it, like obviously traffic that went the distance with awards. Like, did that, at a time when like, I think it was like 20, 40 million people watch the Oscars every year. Did that change your life, that film, that experience?
No, there was never any like that one big thing that breaks. I mean, everything's like a step. I feel like
Yeah,
it helps to open the doors a little easier. You don't gotta jiggle the key as much to unlock it. You know what I mean?
totally.
It was a special time. Soderbergh really he spoiled he was like pre Guillermo del Toro, so he spoiled all of us just in how he spoke to the actors, how he gave direction. Um, even watching him operate camera was really amazing too. He would he would get into the wheel well where I was sitting, and I think Benicia was in the back seat, and I forget who was driving, but I stole there's a shot because I also shot Chicken Fried in addition to directing it, and there's one shot when Zach speaks about the military, and you see this American flag fly behind his head, and it's the last shot that we got before he had to zip me to the airport, or else I was going to miss my plane. But I'm literally in the wheel well, shooting up at him to catch the sun rays and the flag, and I stole that from Steven, just watching him shoot on traffic.
Wow.
And I still talk to him. Like I'm shooting something right now on an iPhone, and I was talking to him about lenses because he's done 3 movies on iPhones: iPhone 6, 8, and I think the 13. Yeah,
Crazy.
the 13 is what he shot Presents on.
Is
And
that a big thing for you? Like when you get a project, whether it's an offer or an audition, like who the filmmaker is and what you can kind of glean from working
oh
for
my
them.
God. Oh
Like
yeah, yeah. You.
because
I
you've
think.
worked with everyone, like Tarantino, Ari Aster, Soderbergh. I mean, I could go on, and
Yeah,
Eastwood. I mean,
yeah.
talk. Like, do you when you're obviously, I know you're there to act, but for you is like also a filmmaker and an artist. Do you kind of absorb and take everything that you learn from them? Like any,
Undoubtedly, it's impossible not to. And also, the challenges and the joys of working with some of these filmmakers. If I could just point to Ari Aster, I mean that man's brain is just so infinite. I went down rabbit hole just to understand his thought process, and I discovered all his shorts. I watched his movies over and over, listened to his Q&As, and it took me a while to really grasp and really fit into it. But I just love being able to run off and start to have to, study these great things. Like when I did Jockey with Clint Bentley, who's nominated
yeah,
right now for Train Dreams, and our DP's nominated Adolfo
and you're
Avioso.
in it as well.
hmm
Yeah,
Learning about the jockeys and dropping to 143 pounds, and because I'd done very rarely do you get to be a part of the beginning of someone's career, and when you get to do both Greg Cuidar and Clint Bentley, I did Trans Pecos with Greg, and Clint was producing, and then I did Jockey with Clint directing and Greg producing. But because of my first work experience, they knew that I'd want to embed early with the jockey, so I got there 2 weeks early. I dropped down to 143, and I spent all my time with them. So while they were doing their location scouts and figuring out the script, we still needed to evolve the script more. It was like 60 pages.
wow.
So between the intel
Was
I
that
was
an
gathering,
offer for you, Jockey?
well, actually, Clint and Greg wrote it for me.
Amazing.
It was a tremendous gift, and to be able to work with Adolfo and Clint on that level, and also a true collaboration. The true collaboration is what I really long for, and you'll get that with the Soderbergh, and you'll get that with the Guillermo, and you'll get that with an Ari Aster. When you get to jam, it's like jamming in a band. You got a handful of directors that like Taylor Hackford's not very collaborative at all. He's
Wow.
not. There's no mentorship. There's zero mentorship.
What about
So
Roger
it's
Avery, like Rules of Attraction?
oh
Like
my
you're
God,
amazing.
I got writing on my wall from Roger Avery. I love. I can't tell you. I get on the phone with him. We're on the phone for just hours.
I'm
Yeah, Roger
sorry
Avery's a G.
if I'm like, I feel bad because I feel like I'm going in linear order and I want to address the ones you're bringing up, and then so I apologize if I'm like all over the place here. You're just so I like your work's so amazing. I want to honor it all, but like tell me, like since we're on it, like the Rules of Attraction, you're like you steal that movie,
No,
man. You're like
thank you,
amazing in
brother.
that. Like I
Thank
also
that was.
like the reason you are so exceptional and the reason I steal from you is like it's very hard for me to imagine any of the times that I've watched the roles that you do that the performance you give is on the page in the way that like for the audience listening like what Heath Ledger did with The Dark Knight. Like obviously it's
mm.
amazing writing, but he did something with text that is just like he's an artist. You're an artist. You paint it in like talk to me about that. It's so amazing.
So the Rupert character was originally played by James Spader in Less Than Zero. And that's more true to how he was kind of like a faux coke dealer, like a wannabe coke dealer. And Roger had written this character 13 years earlier. and had been dying to put it in some kind of adaptation. So when he got Rules of Attraction, he said, "Ooh, let me put this character I wrote 13 years ago and make him the Rupert, and not this pussy Rupert that's like a wannabe coke dealer. This guy's a
Yeah.
badass." So when I read the script, they wanted me to audition for Ian Somerhalder's part. And this is a
Really?
very a very look. I said the same thing. I'm like, look, I'm not a porcelain doll. I'm not pretty by any means.
Nah, you're a good
So
looking guy, man.
I can play gay like I did, in Traffic, but I'm not a porcelain doll. Like I'm not, a gay man's fantasy. I don't think. I hope not. I mean, whatever. I guess it's better to
Yeah.
have people love you than hate you.
Yeah, totally,
So
totally.
yeah, have at it. I
Love
take
is
that
love,
back.
man.
Yeah, love is love. Exactly. Love is love. That's a fact.
Yeah.
So I'm reading the script and I'm reading the role that Ian ultimately got, but then I see the Rupert role, like it just hollers at you. I'm like, whoa, whoever plays Rupert's gonna have big old donkey balls. That's a fucking hard ass role. He says motherfucker like 25 times in one monologue. So next thing you know, Craig Shapiro, the producer, has me come in. I think it was just a table read, but I don't think I was reading. I don't know if they asked me to just read it. I can't remember. But what I do remember is them saying, "Hey, I know we wanted to talk to you about this other role, but what we really want to talk to you about is the Rupert role." I'm like, "Oh my God." Like I was honestly a little bit scared, which is always the green light to why you should do it. You'll figure it
Yeah.
out. You're an artist. So I'm like, and they had somebody cast already. So they fired that guy. They hired me. And now I'm stuck at home trying to figure out what the hell is the cadence of this guy? Who the fuck says motherfucker 25 times in one monologue? So
Yeah.
I'm like by myself, like just running the shit out of this thing in my little apartment over and over and over all day for, I don't know, 4 or 5. On the fifth day it came to me, I was like, oh shit. I'm like, oh my God. I had two ways of doing it, but I had a third way that is the banger. But I was like, oh my God, this feels like Sam Jackson from Pulp Fiction. Like, duh, Roger Avery wrote Jules. He co-wrote Pulp Fiction with Tarantino. Of course, that's who it is. So when I went and did it, like Roger's like, all right, Clifton, let's see. Let's see what you got for me. You want to show me what you got? I'm like, yeah, I would love to. Let's go outside. Went outside by the trailers, and I started to do it. I said, I've got 3 ways. Let me show you my number one. And I did the number one. He's like, okay, I really like that way, but you kind of remind me of someone. Like I know, but also you wrote Pulp Fiction. He's like, oh, I forgot. You're right. I did write Pulp Fiction, didn't I? I'm like, duh. Of course it's supposed to sound like Samuel because that's
Yeah.
Jules.
Totally.
That's Jules. Yeah, so if you listen to Jules talk again, you listen to the words of Rupert, you're gonna see, you'll hear it,
Ah.
you'll hear it and feel it.
Wow.
I said, we'll just call Sam. We'll
Now that you
call
see the
Sam and say it's
motherfucker,
homage.
it seems so obvious, and that's amazing. Oh my god, so cool, man. And at that time, these movies are, they're so amazing because they don't make those kind of movies anymore. But like, I feel like you caught so many filmmakers right as they were starting to like, like Babel, like,
Oh my
Inarritu, like
God,
what was that like? And
that
diving
was
in,
amazing.
was it?
Well, it was because on a variety of different levels. I mean, he's an amazing filmmaker, and he's just a wonderful rascal, and I mean that in every positive, charming, fun, hangout way. But he pitched me this. I originally He originally wanted to hire me off an audition I did for Francine Maisler and
Wow.
this
Okay.
film with Jake Gyllenhaal and Reese Witherspoon about this guy that gets they torture him for a while. He's Middle Eastern, and the whole movie I'm just getting tortured. And the Iraq War just started. So even though they really wanted to hire me, it wasn't really and I know it's acting, but and the guy they hired doesn't look that terribly different from, even though he was Middle Eastern.
Got it.
It just didn't feel right politically speaking. Like it wasn't like the right move to make. So that audition, they show that to Alejandro, and then he calls me, lets me read Babel, and he calls me, he's like, Clifton, and I'm in the middle, I'm doing this independent, I'm doing this, I'm playing this Cajun role in Little Chenier. So I'm very much Cajun, I'm hanging out with the Cajuns. Me, I'm sitting there talking with the Cajun every day, eating their gall on their boat and going there on their houseboat and going with them to go eat and stuff. So it's like I'm literally in that mode. I get out of it and I'm talking to Alejandro, and he pitches me this whole scene like Clifton. It's like in the movie Midnight Express. I'm like, when the guy you meet, I said, Brad Davis. He goes, yes. When Brad is going through and he's got the hash on his belly and the nerves and the sweat and the patrols are coming inside and the nerves and I'm on the edge listening to him pitch this scene. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
god. I'm like, Alejandro, that scene's amazing, but that's not the scene in the screenplay. And he goes, ah, cabron. He goes, you're right, but I'll write it for you. The dude has got so much fucking passion. It's almost impossible to say no to him because you'll believe anything that he says. And I mean that in the most positive of ways. I'm like, you know what, Alejandro? Well, if you'll write it, then I'm in. And
Yeah.
then cut two, he's so busy and slammed on it. It's a giant film. It's an enormous, like
Kate Blanchett,
borderline
Brad Pitt
masterpiece.
is like you don't get bigger than that, you know?
Rinko, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I kept saying, I said, hey, Alejandro, I looked at the script and the scene still, this thing's, oh, come on, because I forgot. I was like, oh, don't worry about it. And so we had like 3, 4 nights of shooting and we hadn't quite gotten to my scene. I said, hey, Alejandro, I know you're busy right now because I always want to, I want to, I want to contribute to the production. I don't want to like be an issue or a problem. I want to raise value. I don't care if you need me to help carry gear or what.
Yeah.
I'll do it all. I love it. I don't care if it's an indie or a studio. I just want to help. And so I said, Alejandro, I said, you want me to just go ahead and write some stuff down? Because I was already afraid that he might be too tied up and stuff. And I get it. Like it's a very important thing. Um, and the scenes that he was doing were important. And we were racing against the clock. We were shooting at night. They built a giant border patrol checkpoint in the middle of the Mexican desert in Puerto Peñasco, and you had these reporters that were diehard trying to get photos of Gael. So they would post up in the day and hide behind bushes and wait for it to turn nighttime. So you see these
Wow.
flashes like far out of paparazzi trying to get photos of Gael. So it was tough. And then Alejandro's like, I said, dude, do you want me to just go ahead and put some pen and paper? He's like, oh, could you? I said, yeah. So I literally hand wrote that entire fucking scene out, all my dialogue. So when you watch the film, you'll see when the car takes off, um, and I go running because the scene ended up being a lot longer than what was originally on the page. I wrote quite a bit of dialogue, but he was like, "Hey, well, when you get to the end, just start the dialogue over." So you'll hear my dialogue start over, which still works perfectly because in policing, you're very direct commands.
Yeah.
They're not sentences. You don't want somebody to get confused. Stop, halt, sit down, look
Totally.
here, hands up, like very direct commands. Once you start getting into sentences and shit, things get jumbled and people get hurt. So that's what's in the film.
Wow. And another film that just like went the distance, which kind of like leads me into obviously we have to talk about Capote. Like how did that come your
Mm.
way? Like was that an all like I imagine at this time, what was really, because like I look at I'm literally right here, like you did everything. Like at this point, I'm sure there was so many things you wanted to do, but you couldn't do because you were so busy. So what was making you say yes?
Well, Capote was a beautiful one. I'd known Philip since he played the role of Dusty in Twister.
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
so
Wow, I forget
yeah.
about that.
So that's when I first met him. So I was doing Thief with the late great Andre Brower, who was a beautiful mentor and a
I
beautiful
love Andre
artist.
Brower.
Yeah, that was a hard loss.
I'm sorry, man.
So yeah, we spent like an hour or two whenever we got a new script, just on the phone, figuring out how we're gonna do this heist, just like and
Wow.
how to fix the writing and touch it. It was just great, just getting game from him. And him, he wasn't a gatekeeper; he shared everything. So my grandpa was going through cancer for the first time, and we were shooting in New Orleans, and it was late. And my showrunner, Norman Morrill, was like, "Oh, Cliffy, God, I was just thinking about your grandpa." I was like, "Oh, that's weird. I was just thinking about him too." It's like, "Yeah." I said, "How much time do I got?" He goes, "We're not gonna need you for a half hour." I said, "Great. Let me go check on my grandpa." So went back to my trailer, called grandpa, and he just randomly. I mean, one can argue if it's really random. He goes, and his voice sounded bad, so I knew he wasn't doing good. So that
Oh,
kind of broke my heart. You're like, and I'm 2, 3 hours ahead. And he goes, "Hey, mijo," I'm like, "Hey, son, I want to ask you something." I'm like, "Yeah, grandpa, what's up?" And he goes, "Are you are you doing good work?" And I was like, "Yeah, Grandpa, I already know. I do it at bare minimum. I do good work." He goes, "Well, listen to me." He goes, "I want you to do better work."
Wow.
And that struck me so hard, like a knife in the chest, but a knife of love, not even a put down. It was an inspiration. I was like, well, how can I be better? How can I? And then I came home and I had two scripts at my hotel. One was George Romero's, one of his zombie films with Dennis Hopper, who's an old friend. I would love to work with Dennis again. Rest in peace. And then the other one had a cover, like a one sheet of Chris Cooper, Catherine Keener, a fill up for Capote, and I was like, oh shit. So it was like 2 in the morning. I read the script from front to back, and then I called my manager at like 4 or 5 a.m. I said, "Dude, I'm sorry to leave this message this late. I Capote." I said, "What do I got to do?" I said, "I want to be Perry Smith." And so, and then that guy got fired because he was like, "Well, you gotta better put it on tape. They're gonna find the guy." I'm like, "You're my manager. You're supposed to give me peace of mind. You're supposed to help manage my time so I'm not
Yeah.
stressing about this. I care about this job." And I always felt like, it's one thing if you're doing a comedy and you could just put it on like a glove, but if you got to really hyper focus, become this other character, it's a little hard. I feel like I'm cheating on a girlfriend when I'm dedicating my heart to this project I'm passionate about. To split your passion to do another thing is like you're just taking energy from it, in my opinion,
Yeah.
for these kind of roles. So I was like, dude, like, I don't want to hear, like, you better do this. Like, they're going to want me to do that monologue. I know they are.
Yeah.
And I'm working nights with Andre, and I care about this, which I did. I got nominated for an Emmy for Thief.
Yeah.
So my sister calls me, and she's a casting director, Veronica Rooney, and she's like, "What's the matter? You sound all stressed." Like, I really want to do this audition, but my manager's saying, they're gonna find the guy. You better get on it. And like, I can't do it, sis. She's like, "Well, when's it shoot?" And I told her. She goes, "What? You got plenty of time." Well, he said they're gonna find the guy. Like, no, 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 no. Let me call the cast. Like, no, no, don't call the cast. He said, "No, no, no. I'm gonna call." Like, "No, sis, don't call." And she's, "I'll call you back." Like, "No, sis," and she hangs up on me. Calls. She was friends with the assistant to the casting director, who's since passed away, but they were
Wow.
friends. And she was like, "Don't worry about it. You wrap on this day. You'll be home. You'll have at least a week to prep, and then they can see you then." I'm like, "Oh, thanks, sis. Maybe I'll give you the 10%." So I fired him,
Yeah.
and then I did the audition, and then Bennett Miller, again. Um, I was going to meet with George Romero for the zombie film, and I'd continued to prep for a Capote because my sister had already told me. She gave me the heads up that I was going to be having a callback with Bennett Miller, which nobody
Wow.
else told me. Just my sister did. So I just quietly kept prepping. Quietly kept prepping. I got the In Cold Blood book. It's like a Bible. Like I knew every page of the In Cold Blood book. It was under my pillow
Wow.
the whole time when I was filming. So so I was constantly prep. I remember one of my agents, is a junior agent that's no longer at the agency, but she was like, "Oh, Clifton, we got a call back from Capote." I was like, "Oh, okay, oh, awesome." Like I already knew. It's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, great, great." So we're gonna cancel the George Romero. I'm like, "No, no, no, no. I'm gonna do George Romero because I kept prepping for both." So it's not like I
Wow.
had to stop, and so I was already well prepared. It was like I wasn't going to have a problem, doing the both. And
Totally.
I'm a huge George Romero fan. I was just dying to get in there and just talk to George and share stories that I know about him that embarrassed him. That was awesome.
Amazing.
So I did
Wait,
that. I did
simultaneously both?
well. I did I did that audition, and then I went to go do meet Bennett Miller right afterwards,
Wow.
like
And
back to back. I literally just drove one to the other.
and how did it go? I mean, obviously you got it,
I
but was
got
it
I got offers on both,
wow.
but I
And then
couldn't do the George Romero one. So Leguizamo ended up doing it.
no way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was Dennis Hopper and Johnny. Yeah,
Amazing. But I mean, like, Capote and you getting to go with, Philip Seymour and such like that his titular role, like what was that experience like and working with
it was
him?
heavy because he was also a producer on it. So Dan Futterman was the writer. Was a fantastic actor as well, in addition to being a great author. So Futterman, Bennett, and Philip were all from New York. So we had uh, a week of rehearsal, and then we pushed a week. So they were like, "Hey, we're gonna push a week and go home if you want." Now I'm like, "I'm not gonna go home now that I'm in this pocket in the sweet spot, and we're in Winnipeg and it's cold as shit." So, and I stopped smoking weed too to prep. So I want to get in touch with my demons.
Yeah.
So I was having breakdowns every day and getting in soul searching and just studying at home when I wasn't rehearsing. And and I remember we had a little dinner with uh, Catherine and Chris Cooper and Philip and Bennett. And I was just sitting down. I like to sit on the floor. So I'm sitting on the floor having dinner. And I remember Chris Cooper walking over to me. And it's the great Chris Cooper. You know what I mean? I'm in awe of
Yeah.
him. I'm in awe of him.
Amazing. Yeah.
I'm in complete awe. So he comes over and he comes over with his plate of food. And he kind of squats down next to me and goes, "Hey, son, he goes, I've been meaning to ask you. He was, how you doing on this role? How's it going for you?" And I was like, "Oh my God!" I suddenly got so embarrassed because I didn't want to tell him. I didn't know how to tell him. I said, "Honestly, Chris, I'm having quite a bit of breakdowns." I just confessed to him. And then he just looked at his plate and he fumbled with this piece of lettuce with his fork. And he goes, "Well, son," and he goes, "this is the kind of role you're supposed to have breakdowns on." And then I was like, again, giving me permission. And then I was like, whew. I said, "You know what? I think I'll have that drink with you now." So we went back to the hotel. I just got shit plowed on some delicious wine.
Wow. You
Yeah,
you
and then that was the end of it. I was ready.
you brought so much humanity to Perry Smith. Like you as an audience member, you feel like as he goes back to the flashbacks, you feel guilty for caring about him, but you really did like it was amazing. Was that just like you know obviously that film was a huge success, but like was that did that I know I keep asking this question, but did that change things for you? Like
Again, it was just another. I haven't had
yeah.
the ta-da, he's here. I
But
don't know. I don't know if
you
I ever
deserve
had
it
that
for all
moment.
of them. I would give you an Oscar for every one of these, man. Literally,
Well, thank
probably
you,
even
man.
Freddy's Nightmares. But
The but there's something beautiful about having this degree of anonymity. Like when I get like I remember hanging out with a girlfriend of mine as an actress. She was on this pretty popular show, and I was like, she's like, "You have all the cool fans come up to you." So the people that do recognize me, they're usually like, I'm not. I usually don't play these like soft roles. So they're like ex-convicts or runaways or somebody that's changed their life or gotten some kind of meaning or benefit from my films in the best way possible.
yeah, I mean, absolutely, that's what you do. I mean, you changed my life. I mean, tell me because you brought it up with like Capote. You, your prep is immaculate, but with when you're given rehearsal, especially with like like a big film, do you like to rehearse or do you like spontaneity?
Oh
Because like
my
I know
God.
you
I'm I'm glad you brought that up. So the great Samuel L. Jackson, who was the closest thing I got to a father, is my one of my greatest mentors today. I've been blessed to have some very beautiful mentors I consider family. But we had 5 days of rehearsal on 187. We rehearsed in sequence. We shot the movie in sequence, which,
wow.
as you know, is rare. It's so rare.
Yeah,
So you
never
grow as the
happens.
characters, you grow as actors, you grow as friends, you grow as all these things. So we do 4 days of regular rehearsal. You read the side, like, all right, here we go. We're going to do this, we're going to do this, and okay. Blah, blah, blah. So on the fifth day, it's the big finale scene in the house with the Russian roulettes and stuff. And Samuel's monologues were much larger than what ended up being in the film. So he's sitting there and he's doing something different. I'm like watching him going like, oh, okay. He's like just got his hands down. He's reading the sides. I've got a 357. So I'm like, Kevin Reynolds, like, "You ready to do this, man?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then I said, "All right, Sam." I said, "Hey, my 357's it's clean." And he's not looking up at me. I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to bother him. He's Samuel Jackson. I gotta let him do his thing. "All right, Sam, well, it's clean." So I go clack, close it. And then Samuel's like, "All right, you guys ready?" And then Sam grabs his sides and he goes, throws them on the floor and he goes, "Yeah, man, let's go." And I was like, he's the one with all the big speeches. I only got a couple retorts here and there. Okay, all right. So he's like, and then I go, "Oh, you hold it, Mister D." Da, da, da. And he just goes, whoa, and he's holding tears. He's like, "I was a teacher. I try to help you." I'm like, holy fucking shit. Oh, I'm sorry. Look, I didn't mean to come here with this gun. Like I just totally like
Yeah.
totally just not what the scene is. I wanted to step out and just watch the man act. And Kevin was like, "Hey man, so what do you think?" I'm like, "What do I think? Didn't you just see what happened?" I said, "Dude, can I just have like 5, 10 minutes, please?" I said, "What?" He goes, Look, I'm not gonna be able to run by Samuel's side today, but I would like to at least see the bottom of his shoes as he races ahead."
Yeah.
I said I gotta learn these lines differently, and so I could at least. I mean, if he's gonna, so he literally gave me an ass whooping. He did the regular rehearsal, and then on the fifth day, he wanted to show me what I was up against. I went home, I cleaned my bong out with 420. I bought flowers. I said, "You are now a vase," and I put it on top of my fridge. For the next 3 months, you're a vase, a beautiful vase, and I'll put new flowers all the time. So I went home. I just started studying maniacally. I said, Samuel, I said, because I like to be a little spontaneous. Oh, spontaneity, huh? I said, yeah, you don't have any spontaneity? Like, no, man. Oh, so you know what you're gonna do? Mm-hmm. I said, okay, but to have the right choices and stuff, that means you gotta like play with everything to not have spontaneity. He goes, yeah, man. And then I was like, whoa, that's a lot of studying. That is a lot
Yeah.
of studying. I just knew, so I went home and watched the bong. I'm like, yo, fuck this. I want to be like Sam. Be like Sam.
Yeah.
So literally,
Wow.
so that personally for me was certainly an escalator in process and allowed me to dedicate and commit a lot more time without question. I love rehearsals. I love jumping on an indie. So we don't have time for rehearsal. We don't have the money for. I don't care about money. I want rehearsal. We're going to do an indie. We want to
Yeah.
shine. I don't care if we do it on FaceTime. I'll meet at a coffee shop. I don't care. Like I need to talk to the actors and make sure I'm working with actors that are like minded. So yeah, getting to the spontaneity. But you were so I had to bring us back to because you were asking me a question about what was the other thing?
Oh God. What was I asking about?
Was it was it Capote?
Probably. Yeah. Yeah. Rehearsal. Talking about rehearsal on Capote.
So we had rehearsal on Capote, um, which was pretty in depth because we were still learning stuff. The stuff I'd learned about the book, I found three lies that Capote embellished,
Wow.
which was really
You
interesting.
got the tapes, like, or did he not record the conversations, Capote?
We Philip and I watched a lot of live footage of
Live
Capote,
footage. Got it.
but it was a pretty intense rehearsal process. And also, again, Philip was the producer on it, so he was able to control a lot what was going on set. Like there wasn't a lot of talking in between setups,
Mm.
which on one hand, I get it, they're heavy scenes, but these crew work so hard. It's like if you can talk responsibly without being distracting, I think they should be allowed to do that. They're busting their ass to make you look great, and sound
Yeah.
great. So, but it was very controlled. It was very, nobody was talking in between unless it was Bennett or Philip or the DP.
With like your preference here and how amazing you are with preparation and rehearsal, has theater been something that you've ever felt a calling to?
And that's Grandpa's whole background and foundation because
Wow.
the vaudeville in Texas since he was like 7 years old. Uh, no, not really. I think I might be more intrigued now than I have been in the past. But I have done some theater in my earlier days, like the 99 seat theater.
Nice. Like a black box
Yeah.
style or
Hmm. Not
nice.
like on Theater Row on Melrose or Santa Monica.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, but yeah, but I study like I'm doing theater. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
can run around and riff and do stuff and that's fun.
I like now I'm manifesting for you. I would love to see you on the stage. I think, we get you that EGOT status pretty soon.
Right?
I mean,
So,
tell me, because like obviously, like coming after this and into the 2010s, you did so much amazing work that there were. I think on your part, because you love the work so much, was there a conscious restraint from like the PR mechanism of the Hollywood machine to like getting a publicist and going to do talk shows and promoting? Like, did that part of the business not really appeal to you?
it did. It did. I think It's hard with character actors. It's like, how do you pitch somebody that's constantly changing?
Mm,
You know what I mean? And unless, and I didn't think, there was talks of me getting nominated for Traffic. There's talks about me getting nominated for Capote. And, I didn't think to do the whole press tour. When I got a publicist for Jockey, it's like you're running for office. It's like I didn't work for 10 months because I'm promoting this movie that I made, like $4,000 on. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So it's like you've got a nest egg saved up to pay your bills, and now you're dumping a shit ton a month for a publicist and a
Oh my.
stylist, and it was during COVID.
Yeah.
So even then, sometimes things would get canceled, or you had to do it under certain restrictions, or a lot of interviews at the house. So it's an interesting thing. I'm not really good at I mean, I love talking to people, and I love
Yeah.
talking about craft and what I do and how I do it. It's fun, but I'm not good at like selling myself, so to speak.
I'll do it for you.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Yeah, I don't. It's hard to like have those exercise bragging
I get
rights,
it.
if you will.
I'm the same way about myself, but I respect it, and as I respect your work, and obviously, like because we're talking about Jockey, like talk to me about that world because my sister is very much in that world, and you really just
Mm.
nailed it, and she's a well now she works for breeders, but like that space is such an interesting space in the horse world. I know we're getting a little bit more exposed to it now with like the Taylor Sheridan verse, but for you on that, like was that a really was it always a jockey that character in the incarnation of that script?
Was it always that
Wait,
in
like you,
regards
you
to?
you said it was written for you. Like the
Oh yeah,
character, it was always
it was written for me, and then also, honestly, the character I played, Jackson, is a mixture of myself, Greg Quedar's, and Clint Bentley's personal life. Like that monologue at the end is was very much part of my childhood. Like my dad used to get just wasted, and we'd walk to Hollywood Park from his trailer park.
wow,
That was my visitation, was me learning how to gamble on the horses at like 9 while he's getting shit plowed and we're sitting there. So that whole speech came out the morning of we wrote that speech, because that
wow,
speech was not there. They had a slightly different ending. I was like, we can't end it like this. We didn't, because the dailies we were watching were like just amazing. Like Adolfo's work, we were just sharing the same brain. It's like I knew where his light was, and he knew that I knew where his light was, and also he knew that I was going to be walking into it a certain way. It was just this really great synchronicity, if you will, without
amazing.
even talking about it. And maybe sometimes I might even say, "Hey, I'm going to go over here," and he would already know. But it was really special, and to be able to work with Greg and Clint on that level, on such an intimate level, because I had the actors in my room every night running lines like I did on Trench Pecos,
Yeah,
and then hanging out with the jockeys, just so I told them, because I got there 2 weeks early. I said, "Hey guys, like I'm sure they're fans of a gig or two. I just never knew what. I mean, I found it eventually, but I was like, hey, I'm here to be here for you. Whatever you guys need, you need me to pick up horse shit or brush the horse or whatever the hell you need me to do. I'm here for y'all. So you can ask any actor questions. Let's just get those out the way. I don't care if you make fun of me, tease me, or whatever. I'm just one of the homies. So I just wanted to get the normalcy of just I'm a jockey. I'm gonna be here with you, because we shot on a live racetrack. We had a crew of 9,
wow.
no horse wrangler. So on those races, they would tell the jockeys, "Hey, oops, oh, I'm sorry."
Oh,
Uh,
you're
we
good.
would tell those we would tell those jockeys, "Will whoever comes in on third position, Jackson's going to come in right after you." So I'd be hiding with my saddle, and then as soon as the guy would come in, I would jump on. So I'm literally walking in on the heels of an actual race. Every single
No,
time you see that happening, it's on the heels of a race.
crazy. Did you prep for
Yeah.
months for that?
I'd say a month and a half.
Yeah, have you ridden
But
before? Like obviously
oh,
growing
I've
up in
definitely ridden before, but I
yeah.
didn't ride in that film.
Mm.
Well, they had me and they were gonna have me riding, and I was ready to do it. I got on a quarter because we got to understand the quarter horse is like the dragsters of the racing world. You're not
Got
going to
it.
take hard corners. You're just going to nudge it. You know, so that quarter horse is fast. And I did Norman Reedus's riding with Reedus, and they threw me on a quarter horse with a shitty ass mouthpiece, so I couldn't slow him down at all. Like the quarter horse was lapping the camera truck. That's how fast I was going. So I was like, oh shit. It's because it's different on Westworld. We had amazing rodeo horses, and I had two horses. You got one for the regular stuff, and then one for the action stuff. And the action stuff was Jamie's horse from Django, and that horse was
Oh,
like
really?
oh, like
Wow.
a fucking Porsche. Like just you could just touch him here with your rear heel and touch him here, and he knew how to move this way, forwards, backs. It was just so magical. Not the quarter horses. Quarter horses, you just hang on and you're going somewhere together. So it was so they couldn't we couldn't do that for some reason. I forgot what happened. So they ended up putting me on the practice horse in the back
Got
of the
it.
truck. And both Clint and Greg are sitting in the corner of this truck. And I said, look, I'm down to do the truck gag, but we can't do SAG rules. We gotta do real. I don't want to look like I'm going 15 miles an hour and
Yeah,
we
right. It's
can't do
slowly
this.
going in the background.
You got to promise me that we're going to hit at least 40, at least maybe 45 even. You can slow it down later if you want to.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, because if they're like, no, we can't do that. And then the security guy, the head security was our friends. He's like, no, we're going to do it. So the driver's like, fine. So they've got buckets of track dirt and they're both in the corners and they're throwing it at me. And I'm just like going
No
like this. So,
way.
so
I thought that was
we were
real,
just,
man. I was like,
no, they're two white guys. So their beats are kind of off every now and then. So they each, and I wondered for a hot second if it was intentional, but I know it wasn't. I love these guys like brothers. But there's two moments where I'm literally on the inhale and they throw a big chunk and I'm like, oh, I'm like, like, oh, Clinton, where's some like, just keep throwing it. We gotta get the shot. And then Clint throws one. I'm like, like on the inhale, like, oh, I'm like, and it's mixed with horse shit and
oh
chemicals.
man.
They calibrate the track between every run, and so when you fall, it's like soft. So it's mixed with who the hell knows what the hell I just wanted to get the shot, like any typical actor.
It's a great shot.
It was special. There's a lot of that was one of those films where, when you're on an indie and you've got like just something unexplainable happens every day.
Yeah.
So on the fourth day, on the fifth day, that first week of shooting, the Moises and Molly Parker were coming the second week. So the first week was just me and my girlfriend that I haven't seen in 25 years. And then I was like, so we're going to shoot that scene today. And then afterwards, we're going to go to Tonto Park and Coon National Forest, two racist names and locations. And then somehow these wild stallions are going to come up to me with no horse wrangler in sight. And then I remember Greg Creeder realizing how absurd that sounded. And I just remember his shoulders kind of dropping in his head. And he was like, yeah, pretty much. And I was like, you know what? Horses will show up when Jackson shows up. So we get there. I carry some gear. We go like 2 miles in because there's a lot of wild Mustangs at this
Yeah.
place. So we're there and you can't chase wild Mustangs the same way you can't chase turkeys. You can't. You got to hide and all this other stuff. And I remember we got one shot. Adolfo got one shot. We was happy. The little horses are fighting with each other, and I'm in the foreground. And but it's not the shot that we wanted, and we're against the sun. We're not facing the sun, and it was starting to get late, and I'm in cowboy boots. I'm like, look, there's a bunch of rocks. I said, hey guys, we're about to lose the sun, so I got to head back because I'm in cowboy boots. I don't want to break an ankle or just shooting.
Yeah.
And I had a moment of gratitude. I started walking away back to our cars up through the rocks, and I just popped a squat and threw some rocks, and I couldn't. My 9 crew members were out of earshot, so I couldn't hear anybody anymore. So I knew I was by myself. Just a very serene, quiet moment. I squat down, I grab little stones, and I throw them, and little mayflies are jumping off the water, and I'm like, I look up to this guy, and I go, God, he goes, man, every single day we had something magical. I said, not to be selfish, but if you could stick with us the whole movie, that'd be really cool. And if you can't stick with us and you were just here for these 4 days, thank you for showing me what could be, because we're
Yeah.
all making a movie for the right reasons. We're not trying to get rich. We're trying to tell a great story, and we're dedicating everything we got, every moment, every second, every waking and breathing moment. And in that moment, I heard this giant splash, just, and I'm looking down at the water. I'm like, and I hear this. I was like, oh shit. I slowly look up and I lock eyes with this white dominant mare. She's looking me right in the eye. The whole world vanished. It was her and me. And I'm like, and I'm like, she's gonna come if she comes towards me, she's coming towards me, I'm gonna either parry left or right, and I'm gonna bareback her because she's gonna take me someplace magical. I'm looking her in the eye. She like looks at me, she's stomping water. I'm like, it's a 1,200 pound wild stallion. It could literally just trample me. And I'm squatting in the down. And then she goes to walk away and she came off the embankment. She goes to walk off again. And I just remember standing up and put my arm up. And then the shot you see in the movie is the horse looking back at me. And that's when I went back down and put my head down. And then she puts her head down and the tail goes like this. And then she proceeds to walk across me. And then three little stallions follow behind. And it was just such a personal moment between me and her. I don't know if it's on camera. I don't know if they shot it. I don't know what happened. I
Wow.
don't know nothing. I had to be here with her. I don't have time to like, I'm 100
Yeah.
and I'm in your world. I'll be out soon. I'm sure you didn't read a script. You're just a wild stallion, and I'm invading your area. It's like, but we're here together. So she left, and then when I looked back, the brilliance of Adolfo is he had already broken down the camera and was pulling focus by himself, creeped up on his belly. And when I looked back, he was like 30 feet back. I said, Adolfo, so you think you got it? He's like, I think so. I think so. And that's what you see in the movie.
Amazing. It's such a moving performance. Thank you for your work in that. I mean, I love that film. And
Thank you, brother.
was that, talk to me, like, did that feel like a culmination? Like, did leads come your way sooner in your career, or?
Um, no, not really. Uh, it's an interesting time because I was talking, I was talking to a girlfriend of mine that was in The Last of Us. And I said, hey, you're of the younger generation. I said, do you find, back in our days, like you had the flavor of the month. You had this one actor that they're shoving down your throat and he's getting opportunities to do all these leads and then he'll fizzle out or he'll hit.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, we've all got to be subjected to this person's work. I won't mention any names, but there's a
I
whole
know.
list.
I could give
Yeah,
it.
there's a whole list.
I think we're aligned on that list.
Yeah, there's a whole list. So,
Yeah.
so, uh, um, so I said, do you find now with social media and all these things that those flavors of the month are like flavor of the hour? Like real quick, it's like you might be a hit on something, but how long is that going to last? Like how fast it wears off much faster now because our attention span is so much shorter.
Totally.
So you might have been a fan of this person's work, but 3 weeks pass and they're not on another show, and then you forget about it. There's somebody else. So I don't know, man. To answer your question, I'm still pounding the pavement, but also again, it's like, it's just time. It's like I love directing, I love editing, I love writing. We'll spend 12, 14 hours writing with my writing partner. And I love editing. I love doing music videos. I've done a bunch for Chris Stills, the Soul of John Black, County Crows, like I told you, Slash. Who's a dear friend and mentor.
Wow. I mean, I really just, because what you're saying, flavor of the month, like, and what you've done, and I'm sorry if I'm blowing steam up you, but I really want you to know is like when I'm talking to other actors, and like acting nerds, I'm an acting nerd, like, and we're talking about, what are you watching? What's keeping you inspired? Clifton Collins Jr. is like the one, like, I hope amongst us actors,
Thank you,
like,
brother.
you're a god, man. Like, we all look up
Oh
to you.
man.
The work that you do, it means so much to us. So I really
Uh,
just I hope you know just how special you are and how much we appreciate what you do.
that means a lot. Thank you, brother.
Yeah. And so then,
Yeah.
tell me, to continue into what you're saying here with the writing and the directing, did that feel like at a certain point, because like now, I guess what I'm trying to ask is like everyone with like where the business is like you got to wear multiple hats. Was that something early in your career that you always wanted to write and direct, or I guess what I'm asking is it now like of a necessity of where the business is to do those things?
I feel that it is personally.
Yeah,
And also, but I thought like Bradley Cooper's a friend, and seeing what he did with Maestro, is when you see something like that, like whoa, like I would love to up the ante. Like if I'm not going to have the opportunities to do more films like Jockey or on a studio level, then you got to do it for yourself, right? But also, I love the creative process, and I love all the pieces of the puzzle. I love my crew. I love everybody in my crew. I love
yeah,
the transpo drivers. You know what I mean? Like they all got my number.
totally,
If I vibe with you and you're good at what you do, I don't care what it is. If you're good at what you do, you're an artist.
totally.
And we were like minded to some degree. So, because when I did Chicken Fried. I'd already had a handful, and also I realized I just like to tell stories. So it just makes sense being in the medium that I'm in the field that I'm in, that I've got so many cameras, camera gear, lenses, all kinds of stuff. It's just fun. I love telling stories. I love, even when we tell stories, we edit them, or
Yeah,
I can set it up by talking about a close up, or you see this image and you just read the first few letters and then you see this giant can or a bottle or whatever it is. So when I did Chicken Fried for Zach,
what year
um
was that?
it was right when I was doing Boondock Saints 2. So I had a break.
So that might let me
Well,
see
oh no,
here.
my bad. So I was doing Extract with Mike Judge and Jason Bateman and Ben Affleck.
Okay,
Uh, uh, so I had 4 days off. I remember asking Judge, and I love Mike, who just got engaged, by the way.
wow,
So shout out to him and his girl. His girl's awesome. Mike, I go, and Mike and I we clicked right away. We've been friends for a while. So I had a 4 day weekend, and I go up to him. I said, "Hey, Mike, I got to talk to you in private." And he goes, "Oh shit." He goes, "What's going on?" He goes, "Hey, Cliff, what's going on, man?" I said, "Yeah, well, Zach Brown wants me to direct Chicken Fried, but I got to go to Smyrna, Georgia. And I didn't want to tell the producers because they're gonna freak out."
yeah,
It's like, "Holy shit, Zach Brown! My God, hell yeah, you can go. You got to go do that, Zach Brown. Chicken Fried. Ooh wee, man, I love Chicken Fried. God, hell yeah, go. I won't tell nobody." Which tells you that he's a real friend, because a
yeah,
director would be like, "You can't go. The producers will fucking roast me, and but he's like, "I got you. Don't worry about it. It's gonna be great." So he just let me bounce. I took off and I shot it then, and then I think it got released around the time when I was doing Boondock Saints 2. Because I remember I
wow,
had to fly in to get my grandfather's star on the Walk of Fame, and Sam Jackson gave
wow.
the opening speech to that.
Amazing. What a cool
Yeah,
culmination and celebration of your grandfather, man. I mean, that's so awesome. And then now, cause bringing that up, like, has that been a story that for a while, just like you've been assembling his life together, like, in wanting to make that into a film?
for sure. Well, Benicio del Toro recently was talking about how we don't have our films. We don't have like our we don't have our. You got Yankee Doodle Dandy with James Cagney. That's about George M. Cohen, and you got the Seven Little Foys with Bob Hope. You got No Business Like Showbiz, which is about the Donahue family.
Yeah.
You've got all these vaudevillian families. There's not a single. There's the whole Carpa circuit, which is the whole Latino vaudeville. There's Black vaudeville. There's the chop suey circuit, which was all the Chinese and Japanese entertainers. And the Japanese entertainers would go into the chop suey circuit to avoid going to the Japanese internment camps, and they would shorten their names. So this whole history's been erased. So it was really hard to find documentation on the carpas, which is the Mexican vaudeville, which is really big in San Antonio,
Wow.
which is where my grandpa was from.
Is that where
And
you
I
would
remember
shoot
when I
it?
was in theory,
Yeah.
but who knows at this point. So I remember sitting down with Guillermo del Toro, because the opening of Nightmare Alley, that whole circuit when they're performing, I've got photos of my great grandparents, literally, and they look like set photos. So when we were doing looping, and Guillermo's a big fan of my grandpa, but he learned about my great grandparents, and he sat me down one day when we were in Vancouver. He goes, "Meet at Clifferton." He calls me Clifferton. I don't know why, but I run with it. So
Love
meet
it.
at Clifferton. He goes, "You your grandparents, your great grandparents, you're like the pinche Latino Barrymore family, cabron. And I was like, we'd been drinking a little wine and eating some cheese. And I was like, oh, no, Guillermo. I said, no, I'm not worthy of that. And he was like, no, cabron. He goes, you are. And I was like, all right, fine. We're the Latino Barrymore family. But wouldn't that make me Drew Barrymore? He's like, cabron. He goes, you're right, but he can be whoever he wants. I
Yeah,
said, all right, maybe I'll be Ethel Barrymore because she kicked off the vaudeville circuit
totally. Love
before
that.
John. So that's what started that. And I remember Edward James almost spoke at my grandfather's funeral, and he was like, "Liv, you gotta play your grandpa in a movie." And I was so distraught and in pain, and those were shoes I couldn't imagine or fathom filling. But
I'm
going through
sorry for
those
your
seven.
loss.
Well, thank you, brother. Yeah, it's so in going through those seven boxes, my grandma saved everything. I've got his first theater review, like when he's 17 in New York from 1946.
Wow.
Says he's the standout character from this whole show.
Yeah.
So, so in going through that, I started to assemble it. Like, and Guillermo told me, he's like, Clifferton, he goes, this story is too important. You have to tell this story. And I was telling Benicio del Toro, I was telling Ben, I said, dude, this is my Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Yeah.
There's dancing, there's singing. He's the only guy to one up Groucho Marx on his own show.
Wow.
Groucho's ratings were dropping, and Groucho called Walter O'Keefe, who had a radio program called Double or Nothing. He says, Walt, my ratings are dropping. I need somebody that I can perform with in this game show of mine because I've got these lames that are coming up that I can't really, it looks like I'm just slamming them.
Yeah.
So he found my grandpa in Texas that I found the dude. So I've got like a bunch of the original fan letters. And when I read the original fan letters talking about the joy that he gave them and how they were in dark times, and I hope this guy gets his own show because he could certainly make this world laugh in a better place. Like all these things, kind of like thematically, where we kind of been talking more or less about being able to touch people and being able to allow people to forget their woes for the day, just through a film or through a laughter or an engaging, story. Uh, Reading this fan mail touched my heart. So I opened with the actual words of real fans that were sent in. So I've got these original cards.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So that's how it went. And when we got his star, they had to open up a strip for my grandpa because it was in front of Bed Bath and Beyond. And I didn't tell my family, but they put his star right next to John Wayne. It was either going to be Groucho or Duke. So they put it right next to John Wayne.
That's amazing. Talk
Yeah.
about kismet and everything coming together and energies, man. That's amazing.
Yeah. And I spoke to Joe Mantegna about playing Groucho Marx. So I spoke to Paul Walter Hauser, who's in to play
Yeah,
this
I know
steadfast
Paul.
role. I've spoken to Benicio. I spoke to Selma Hayek. I spoke to who else did I tell I do this? I gotta look at my list. Sam Jackson,
See,
Samuel is a.
the script's ready, and you guys are
Oh
just
yeah,
assembling the squad, so
oh
to
yeah.
speak.
Actually, I got my editor right now, who's in. I think he's in Prague. I forget where he's at, but he's. We're finishing up my. It's like a 15-minute teaser. It's a
Wow,
it's a discovered a discovered lost film. So I'm alleging that William Wallman directed a biopic on my grandpa. So it looks like it's from the 1940s. Like I've shown it to friends and like, oh, somebody already made this. Like, no, I made this. This
that's
is my
so
teaser.
cool.
I fooled Roger Avery. Roger Avery looked at it. This was my greatest. I was high all week just off his compliment, and he was so mad because I fooled him. But he looked at the opening titles. I studied like 10 years of William Wellman's opening credits sequences
Yeah,
because my grandpa did The High and the Mighty and he did Ring of Fire with I think Joseph Cotton and William Wellman was always fighting with the Warner Brothers.
yeah,
So I studied a bunch of his opening title sequences, and then so every position in the opening titles you can match to a film with Duke, a film with Grandpa, or a film with Wayne Wellman. Like they've all got legitimate resumes. Every single credit in the opening title sequence. It took me 2 days. So Roger looks at it. Let me see what you got, Clive. Let's watch. Opens over RKO, boop, 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 and then Bugle Boy and Company B, and then She Calls Me Pedro, and then the opening titles and the roles and Judy Garland, John Wayne, who's also in the screenplay. And he's like, okay, I like this. I like this a lot. how about I would cut the opening titles maybe by half, and then bring in the music with the title. I think you do bring in the music. I said, oh, but you want me to cut those titles in half? And he goes, yeah, I think you should cut them back. It's like, okay, it took me 2 days to put those together. He's like, what? I said, yeah, it took me 2 days to get all those names. And he was like, wait a minute. No, wait, you did those titles? I said, yeah. He was like, fuck you. I said, no, I think, no, fuck you. I said, I swear to God, let me see it again. He's like, he goes, you fucking fooled me. You fucking fool. He's like mad. And I was so happy. I was so like full of glee. It was just like, oh my God. I was so ecstatic. That was like
Oh
the greatest.
man.
That was like maybe a month and a half ago.
Oh man, I'm so excited for you. You got to keep me posted, and you got to come
Yeah.
back on when that thing
I would love to,
goes.
brother. Love to.
Yeah, like so. Tell me, for the actors listening, and I'm already gonna say in advance, for everyone, like you have to come do a part two. I'm sorry if I'm missing
Love
so many of
to.
your
Love to,
projects.
brother.
Like I could talk to you all day. I'm sorry if I'm taking up your time,
Not
man.
at all, brother. It's a
I'm loving
joy.
talking to you. So tell me, like as someone who has literally worked with like Bennett Miller, Steven Soderbergh, Inarritu, Del Toro, Eastwood, Tarantino, like for you, what tells you when you're in good hands? Like, do you just? I mean, obviously those guys are obvious, but like for like when you've done episodes of Westworld and it's not a named director, like what are some things that are like you know?
how, how collaborative they are, and how much they're into the work. Are they into the work? Or are they into the position? Is it, look at me, I'm a director, or hey, I can't wait to get down. Let's talk about this.
Yeah,
You can always tell. Like I worked with this guy, had a full blown ascot and a friggin' crazy hat and felt gloves, Englishman, like very posh and little. Like I said, hey, how you doing this morning? Man, he goes, oh, Clifton, I'm just working off the morning drunk. And I'm just like, whoa.
wow,
Truth and jest. So you know who's who. But in all honesty, it is surreal to hear you rattle off those names, because it doesn't sound like it's my resume. I keep forgetting that I did in fact work with all those people. You just forget. You get so caught up in the work, and it's always humbling to be able to work with these people. It's humbling to be able to even send Guillermo a friggin' text, and I need some help with this, or you want to read this, or
yeah,
look at this teaser. I'm very blessed to have some really beautiful mentors. Guillermo being a huge one, Samuel
yeah,
being a huge one, Slash being a huge one.
wow.
Yeah, so I'm very grateful. And even Steven, I reached out to Soderbergh recently just to talk about lenses, because I wasn't sure. I knew for
Are you a gearhead, like a little bit, or
I am, but I'm
yeah,
also a big improv nut.
yeah,
So I love to be able, like, if you watch Adam Durtz's You Might Think, he did a cover of the Cars song, You Might Think, but he slowed it down. And when he slows it down, it becomes very haunting. There's this whole new character introduced because it's slower now. Because You Might
wow,
Think is an upbeat, happy song. Ta-na-na-na-na-na-na. It's very happy and upbeat and colorful.
yeah.
The video, the girl's out of the bathtub, and he was going through a nasty breakup at the time, and I came up with this concept, but I shot the whole thing by myself. So when you see it, there's stuff where there's moving and there's moving parts, and I'm very, very proud of it. But I love being able to engineer how I'm going to shoot something. I get off on it. It's just like figuring out an acting scene.
Yeah. I mean,
So I love handling the camera.
would you ever do episodic work? Like, would you go, like, if Lucky Day goes again, would you ever direct an episode?
They've been asking me for like over a decade. I really love to have my own voice,
Got it.
and when you put on the suit of something that's already belongs to something, you've got to mimic this to a degree. And then I
Right.
was talking to a dear friend of mine that did work on Lucky, a director who I'm a big fan of and friends with. Just like, how do you make it your own? Like, how do you put your stamp on it? Because you got to speak to all these characters to some degree. You can't be totally out the box and start
Yeah.
shooting, like, you know what I mean? So, I love, again, I love engineering the shot. Like, what is the language of the camera? Like, how does the camera move? For Grandpa's movie, because it's a lost found film, these cameras were big. They didn't fly around like they do today. So a lot of the shots are going to be locked off, or very subtle movement, and there'll be somewhere it's even shaky, because you can watch. something to was it something to sing about with Cagney? I think 1937-ish. But there's shots where he's out of focus and the extra behind him is in focus, or the title sequence is not in
Yeah.
focus because it would depending what period it was and how they did it. So I love trying to figure out how the camera talks to the audience, be it predominantly now for videos. But when it comes to shooting scenes and stuff, that's something different. I've got a couple. The genres that I'm writing are completely. It's kind of like they're all over the place. And I love like I was telling my buddy, I was like, okay, I'm a character actor, but also I'm a character director.
Yeah.
I got a
Totally.
1930s piece, I've got a contemporary piece, I got a sci-fi piece, I got a this piece, I got a Godard type of film that's I'm shooting to theme and not actual script,
Wow.
and putting it together. And I learned that through the music videos. Because if you shoot to theme in a music video, you'll find places to cut it in.
Totally. I mean,
Hmm.
this seems like such an obvious segue then, speaking of everything that you're talking about, because, like,
Sure.
obviously, Eddington, you're in the movie, but like the business changed in 2020, the fucking world changed. And
Yeah.
obviously I know, you're talking Bennett Miller and tapes and tapes existed pre 2020, but now they're all that is. Was that I mean, obviously you're an incredible filmmaker and artist, but like did that change your approach when I mean I don't know if you're offer only at this point, but like when you do get tapes, like not going in the room anymore, was that a hard adjustment for you?
Well, you definitely miss it, but I remember Sam Jackson telling me that he missed it. We were doing when he says, "I miss the competition. I miss seeing the faces. I miss walking into the room." And I was like, "Wow, that was just his level,
Yeah.
before self tapes." But now we got self tapes. I did, it's crazy because I was talking to my sister the other day, and she was, so many of these actors and actresses, they'll friggin' do they'll shoot and edit the scene and add music. You know what I mean? So
Literally.
and I know it's fun, but it's a lot of work. And a lot of times they'll only give you like a 48-hour window. And
Yeah.
look, I love to audition. I love to put shit on tape. But I did do something for Sam Ishmael. He wrote this beautiful adaptation, a contemporary piece based off Metropolis.
Wow.
And Metropolis, alleges that in 2027, that's the end of the world because you will have super AI would have arrived. The robots will be developed to such a degree that you won't be able to tell the difference between a robot and a human. And this was,
Singularity or whatever it's
yeah,
called.
and this is
Yeah,
Fritz
yeah.
Lang. Fritz Lang did this shit in 1927.
Wow.
So if you watch Fritz Lang's Metropolis, he's literally predicting what's happening right this very second. It's chilling. You'll have goosebumps. But so Sam Ishmael, who did that great series with
Mr.
Slater.
Robot and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
God. I
And
watched
he
the whole
did that
thing.
Homecoming with Shay as well. That was awesome.
I thought Homecoming was cool, but it
Yeah.
wasn't his bag of tea, so to speak. He did this computer show, and if you weren't computer savvy, just in the way he wrote it, it made you
Yeah.
understand everything about computers somehow.
I
Like somehow I
know.
feel like a computer wizard. Whereas in Homecoming, he didn't really write. So I saw him experimenting more with camera
Got it.
because I was trying to get a vibe off of him before I did this audition. But it was like 10 fucking pages and three scenes, like 48 hours. I'm like, hey guys, look, I love this material. I love the script. I'm just barely watching Metropolis. I'm just barely watching the robot series. I watched the entire show just to get a beat. But then so I said, look, I'm going to take my time to do this. It's not going to be 48 hours. I care too much
Yeah.
about it. And if I miss the window, I miss the window, but I'm going to deliver my best work. So 10 days later, I get through, I do maybe like 75 takes between the three scenes.
75?
Oh, that's just the beginning. There's more, and I'm doing it on a Sony A7R III, so they're giant files. So I've got to. It takes like a good 7 minutes just to upload. If I do 3 or 4 takes, it's going to take time to upload. I'm going to watch every take, probably minimum 2 times, maybe three, and then I'll mark my heroes and I'll keep it moving. So and then I watch Homecoming, and I watch Homecoming. It's like, oh shit, the pacing he picks up the pacing. So Robot's very paced and slow, a lot of pauses,
Yeah.
beautiful, heavy weighted pauses with meaning. I'm like, fuck, but then this one he's picking up the pace. So I'm like, but now he's going back to his roots, the robot stuff. So maybe he went slower again. I said, fuck, I deleted all. I deleted shit. I think I did a total of Man, I got to listen to some of the other podcasts. I remember what it was. It might be like 100. I'd say like 140, 150 takes.
Oh my
So
God.
I just remember maniacally wiping like 100, like fuck all of this. And after watching Homecoming and see the pacing, I decided to change my pacing. So I just deleted all that shit, and then I got friends. So the show got shut down. They had like 4,000 crew members hired for Australia. The scripts were amazing. It's I don't know if it got shut down because it was too revealing about AI, in my opinion, because the
Wow.
scripts were ready to go, and that's when the
I
strike had
heard
hit.
something about that. Oh, got it. Gotcha. Got it. Okay.
But the scripts were written though, so
Yeah.
scripts that weren't written were the ones that got shut down, and they were crewed up already. So I'm like, this doesn't sound like a regular shutdown. This is suspect. So I got it. I got it in time. And they're like, oh, we're coming back for a callback, and then again it got shut down.
Crazy.
Yeah,
Damn.
and that was a huge lead role.
Is it ever
Yeah,
going to
like
go again or is
I
it?
doubt it. I doubt it.
Damn, man.
Yeah, it was
Ah,
wild though, but it was fun. Like I had a director come over, like I had like these friggin' Home Depot lights bouncing off the walls, and I had to constantly move the camera because the sun would move throughout the day. So I was trying to match the other takes, so I'd have to keep moving it like Monet. Had to keep moving the camera
wow.
and bouncing lights. I'm like, oh, what time is it? And they're like, oh fuck, I gotta move the lights over here. You know? So
Yeah, man. So now I want to see that tape, man. Shit.
I got friends that still come over to see it. I have them
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
I might do a screen share with you if we do a part two. I
yeah.
do
Well,
have them.
we'll do that, man. And
I would love to show them to you.
what? So I don't take up your entire day. Like, few final questions here. Like, talk to me now. Like, what is I know you did Eddington, but like, what is interesting you? Because like, I'm sure you can choose what you want to do at this point. Like, what? No, still no. Are
Mm-mm,
you kidding me?
mm-mm, mm-mm.
Like, so then, at least then, what do you want? What's inspiring you? What do you want to do now?
What inspires me is a role I haven't played before, a role that challenges me, a role that forces me to grow, a role that forces me to do things I haven't done before. But then on the flip side, you got to pay the bills, right?
Totally.
So this is why I want to do characters that matter. I want to do characters that like I love it when you can talk about it, like, oh, I felt this when I saw, or I thought this about that, or like it evokes a conversation, right? It allows people to talk about issues and things and other projects or whatever. So and up and coming directors, I love, the rarities of being able to find, to launch to be in the launch of careers like Greg Quidar and Clint Bentley and Adolfo,
Yeah.
is just such a that's the gem. And I love indies too, but you gotta make sure when you do indies that you're doing it with people that are doing it for the right reason, not because they want to be a famous director or want to have a movie under their belt. It's like I remember I did an indie recently that they kept taking my notes. I'm like, it's not important that you take my notes just to assign me. It's important that you understand my notes, because in
Yeah.
understanding the notes, we can have a conversation on how, oh, that note doesn't really apply, or this is what's really happening, or maybe you get inspired. What's important is you understand the note, not just apply the notes. If you apply it without thought, then you haven't really thought about what's going on in this scene.
Yeah.
So so that's difficult. But with Greg and Clint's not that at all. It was such an honest, beautiful, it's the trilogy. We have so much fun working together. I love that.
Oh man, I'm excited to see whatever you guys do next. Like, do you still feel that maybe, for the actors listening, a career like the one you had in the 90s and in the aughts and the early 2000s is possible with how the business is changing, particularly with like movie stars doing television? Like Nicole Kidman's got like 9 TV shows,
And that's who took my last offer.
I
No,
wouldn't put it past her.
no, but that's the whole thing is you got, like you said, you've got these A-listers doing other roles. So it's
Yeah.
like, unless you're that character actor that's in total demand, it's going to be a tough thing. And also, these agencies got to make their monies too. So if you got clients, maybe they're not as talented as you are, but they've got
Yeah.
a higher quote, or they've got a following of sorts because they did some teeny bopper film
Or an
or some shit,
influencer. Shit.
or an influencer for sure. So
Yeah.
you never know, and you can't really fault the business. It's constantly evolving. So the trick is to evolve and grow with it.
Mm.
And in this case, I love writing. I love being able to tell my story, and I love being able to be inspired by all these Academy films this year. You know,
Love that. I mean, tell me, for the actors listening, because like that seems like kind of what I'm gonna ask you is like, if it were you starting now, and any words of wisdom you have for those fighting the
man,
fight?
I wish I had some. It's a different business, and it's a different machine, and it's evolved so much. At the end of the day, you really got to do it because you got to have fun in the process. In the self tape, you got to have fun performing. If you're hanging out with your friends being a clown, you're doing it because you're having fun performing. It's that same thing.
Yeah.
So if you're having fun, you're going to do your best work. It can't be like, that's why I can't do the 48-hour thing, especially if I'm passionate. Like,
Yeah.
don't force me to rush my fun. You know what I mean? I want to do good work. Like, they know I'm grinding morning, noon, and night. I'm canceling everything. I don't care if it's a
Totally.
premiere or the Oscar. I don't care. I need to do a great job on this role. And I appreciate the writing. And in the case of a Sam Ishmael, so you just got to have fun, man. You got to remember to have fun. And even in writing, like we wrote a good 20 pages the other day, and we wanted to go more, but we realized we were getting tired. It's like, it's important to recharge and
Yeah.
get that juju back, because you might knock out 2 pages in an hour, but if you rested that extra hour, you might knock out 4 pages in an hour. And you're flying because you're not tired or you're this. You got to remember to unplug, even though you want it. But
Yeah.
the fun starts once the fun starts to dwindle and you start to like your mind starts to wander. You got to pull the plug.
Wise words. Thank you for sharing that. That's amazing. And
It's true. It's
so
true. I do it to myself now too. Like,
I
I
need
just
to I needed to hear
I
that
tap out.
today. Like,
Yeah,
obviously
I tap out.
we talked about Lucky Day, but can you talk about what else is next for you?
Um. Yeah. The series Lucky.
Oh, sorry, it's
Yeah.
Lucky, not Lucky Day. I'm sorry if I
Yeah.
said
Lucky Day
Lucky.
is
Yeah,
Roger Avery's.
yeah. Sorry, yeah,
Which I
Lucky.
did on the heels of
Yeah,
I had just come back from Utah, and I remember Roger calling me, going like, "Clifton, I need a favor." I'm like, "Okay, what?" I was doing laundry. He was like, "I need you to fly out to Vancouver to do Lucky Day," and I was like, "Okay, when?" He goes, "Today." I'm like, "Today, dude? I'm doing laundry. I just got in this morning." He's like, "Yeah, our actor, we lost him," and I said, "Okay." I said, "So yeah, Jonah Nolan gave me green light to fly out, but yeah, Lucky's gonna be a great show. I'm really psyched about that."
well, yeah, what a
And
cast, and Jonathan
yeah,
Tropper is just killing
yeah,
the game.
Jonathan's badass.
Yeah,
And then I just wrapped on Red, White, and Royal Blue Part 2,
amazing.
so that was fun. So yeah, so just I got another little indie offer on the table. Nothing too eventful. But also, what's really eventful is the writing.
Yeah,
So I'm
man.
really psyched.
Whatever I can do to help, like with
Thank
that
you, brother.
project, man, I'm always here for you. And as
Appreciate
an
it.
artist and as a human, Clifton Collins Jr., I'm so grateful for your time. I love you, brother. Man, this
Thank you,
has
man.
literally meant the world to me. And like, I'm sorry if I'm already making it happen, but part two has to happen.
Let's do
And
it.
yeah, and I think the only thing I can say is like, thank you and to be continued.
Let's do it, man. I look forward to it. Thank you,
Rock and
brother.
roll.